The nation's 2021-2022 budget debate is set to close on Tuesday, with Minister of Finance and Public Service Dr. Nigel Clark making his closing arguments in Parliament. The Finance Minister, who opened the debate, presented the budget with a national expenditure of $830.78 billion Jamaican dollars. Also has the privilege to speak last as he closes the budget debate. Here are some highlights of addresses from the debate so far to bring you up to speed. The budget debate provides the government with the opportunity to measure its progress in relation to targets previously set and assess the effectiveness of its management of the country's finances. Minister of Finance and the Public Service Dr. Nigel Clark opened the debates on March 9. He painted a picture of a challenging but definite financial recovery while giving the opening address at Gordon House.
The closest comparisons were the decline of 6.5% in 1975, 5.7% in 1980, 4.6% in 1985, 3.9% in 1974, and 3.2% in 2009. None of these, Madam Speaker, was remotely close to the economic contraction that we have all lived through in 2020. It took 4 years between 2016 and 2020 for the Jamaican economy to add 100,000 jobs. This is one of the most painful graphs. It took 4 years to add 100,000 jobs, as you can see, from 2016 to 2020. And in 4 months of the COVID-19 pandemic, over 130,000 jobs were lost. Madam Speaker, the Jamaicans who lost jobs in the pandemic could fill every seat in the National Stadium 4 times over. When we talk about economic recovery, therefore, we're talking about eventually. But the good news, Madam Speaker, is that you see, you just keep that graph, that the quarter ending October, the number of employed jumped, and we expect that and hope for that to continue.
Opposition spokesman on finance and the public service, Mr. Julian Robinson, made his contribution to the debate on March 11, followed by leader of the opposition, Mr. Mark Golding, on March 16.
The cost of saltfish, cooking oil, chicken back, and rice, as examples, have increased by over 100%. And Madam Speaker, I want to show you what we mean by the food insecurity. Prime Minister never bring the basket. Never bring the basket. But I want to show you the price increases. Chicken back, $60 in 2016 is now $140, an increase of 133%. Cooking oil, $85 in 2016 is now $220, an increase of 158%. Tin mackerel has moved from $55 to $100, an increase of 81%. Rice has gone up from $31 per pound to $62 per pound, an increase of 100%. And sugar has gone up from $55 per pound to $121, an increase of 120%.
Madam Speaker, this is therefore a time of immense danger for our country, but it can also be a time of great opportunity. We should use the lessons presented by this crisis to reset the status quo rather than just yearning for a return to the ways of the past. We must identify new and better ways of tackling the challenges that impair our national progress. Only we, all of us together and united, can decide whether we learn from the crisis or we yield to the crisis as we face the future.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness presented his almost 4 hours long presentation on March 18.
These crises have tested our mettle as a government and as a people, but we have shown courage, dexterity in management, and incredible resilience, of which we can justly be proud as a country. I am confident that we will recover faster, stronger, and better than before. even though we lost $2.5 billion in foreign exchange earnings from our tourism export, and I use it in that way, because it's an export. We don't think of it as an export, but tourism is an export. That there was only a marginal increase in the difference between our total inflows from exports and other earnings and what we spend on imports and other outflows. This shows an economy that is developing the ability to absorb shocks. Our net international reserves have been maintained at a robust level of over $3 billion US. The amount of public debt has remained flat over the year despite the massive fallout in government revenue and increase in government expenditure. Madam Speaker, Jamaica is among only a few countries that have been able to achieve this. Governments globally issued a record $16.3 trillion in new debt in 2020 and are expected to borrow another $12.6 trillion US this year. So countries are borrowing to cushion the blow of the pandemic.
When the debate closes, the House passes an Appropriation Act, which gives the government the authority to operate the budget. After the House of Representatives has passed the Appropriation Act, the act goes to the Senate for approval.